It was the year 638 CE. The city of Jerusalem, known in Arabic as Al-Quds, stood at the crossroads of history as the Rashidun Caliphate's armies approached its gates. After centuries of turmoil, conquest, and religious significance, this ancient city was about to experience a profound chapter in its story, one that would reshape its identity for centuries to come. To understand the significance of the conquest of Jerusalem, we need to start with the backdrop against which it took place. By the early 7th century, the Byzantine and Sasanian empires had locked themselves in a bitter struggle, leaving both sides exhausted and vulnerable to external threats. In Arabia, a new force was rising, the followers of Islam, united under the leadership of Prophet Muhammad. By the time of his passing in 632 CE, the Arabian Peninsula had largely embraced Islam, and the Rashidun Caliphs had begun expanding the Caliphate's borders. The march toward Jerusalem began under Caliph Umar ibn al-Khattab's leadership, who succeeded Abu Bakr as the second Rashidun Caliph. Umar was a man of foresight, strength, and deep devotion to his faith. Determined to unify the region under Islamic rule and secure vital cities, he dispatched his seasoned generals to lead campaigns across the Levant. Among these generals was Khalid ibn al-Walid, famously nicknamed the Sword of Allah. Renowned for his tactical brilliance and unmatched courage, Khalid had already earned his place in history through several decisive victories during the early Islamic conquests. Joining him was Abu Ubaidah ibn al-Jarrah, another trusted commander known for his humility and strategic mind. Together, they crisscrossed the Levant, sweeping through Byzantine-controlled cities and fortifications before finally setting their sights on the jewel of the region, Jerusalem. The advance toward Jerusalem was measured and calculated. The Rashidun forces gained momentum after succeeding in key battles, such as the Battle of Yarmouk in 636 CE, where Khalid and Abu Ubaidah secured a monumental victory against the Byzantines. This battle was a turning point, crippling Byzantine control over Syria and paving the way for the conquest of Jerusalem. By 637 CE, the Rashidun armies moved closer to Jerusalem's gates. Commanding the siege was Abu Ubaidah ibn al-Jarrah, who led with a combination of military prowess and diplomatic wisdom. Rather than storming the city immediately, Abu Ubaidah initiated a blockade around Jerusalem. The Rashidun forces held their positions, cutting off supplies and waiting patiently. This approach spared unnecessary bloodshed and demonstrated the Caliphate's ideal of conquest through strategy rather than destruction. The defenders of Jerusalem, led by the Byzantine-appointed Patriarch Sophronius, knew they faced an unstoppable force. The Byzantine Empire had already lost its grip over much of the region, and reinforcements from Constantinople seemed unlikely. Ultimately, Patriarch Sophronius sought terms of surrender, but with one condition. He insisted that the surrender be accepted in person by Caliph Umar himself. When this unusual request reached Umar, he agreed. His decision reflects not only his humility, but also his understanding of the significance of Jerusalem as a sacred city for Muslims, Christians, and Jews alike. Umar traveled from Medina to Jerusalem, entering the city not as a triumphant conqueror, but as a man of peace. Historians recount the symbolic arrival of Umar ibn al-Khattab to the city. He wore simple robes, free of ornamentation, and rode a modest camel. His demeanor reflected the Islamic principle of humility and justice. Sophronius was reportedly struck by this sight. Expecting an intimidating ruler, he found himself in the presence of a man embodying fairness and righteousness. When Umar entered Jerusalem, he negotiated terms of surrender directly with Sophronius. His actions were guided by compassion and respect for the city's diverse religious communities. Under Umar's leadership, the Muslims guaranteed protection for Christian holy sites, including the Church of the Holy Sepulchre. The local population was allowed to continue practicing their religion freely. This agreement, known as the Pact of Umar, became a hallmark of Islamic governance. But there was one iconic moment that would resonate through history. Umar was touring the city with Sophronius when the time for prayer arrived. Sophronius offered him a place to pray inside the Church of the Holy Sepulchre, but Umar declined, fearing that Muslims might later attempt to convert the church into a mosque. Instead, Umar prayed outside, marking the site where the Al-Aqsa Mosque would later be built, a gesture that exemplified his foresight and respect for religious coexistence. With the surrender finalized, Jerusalem peacefully entered Islamic rule. The conquest was a pivotal moment not just for the Rashidun Caliphate, but for the entire region. For Muslims, the city holds profound religious significance as the location of Al-Masjid al-Aqsa, where Prophet Muhammad ascended to the heavens during al-Isra wa al-Miraj. This peaceful transition set a precedent for future conquests under the Rashidun Caliphate. Far from the scenes of chaos and destruction often associated with warfare, Umar's conduct showed the world a different model of rule, one rooted in justice, tolerance, and spiritual humility. As the sun set on Jerusalem that day in 638 CE, the city stood at the intersection of history and faith. Its conquest was not merely the result of strategic brilliance on the battlefield, but of the guiding Islamic values of fairness, coexistence, and respect for humanity. The legacy of the conquest of Jerusalem continues to resonate today. It serves as a reminder of how leadership and ethics can transform conflict into cooperation and power into responsibility. For a city as sacred and contested as Jerusalem, Umar ibn al-Khattab's actions became a beacon of wisdom, a monument to the possibilities of justice in a world often torn by strife. This was the story of the conquest of Jerusalem in 638 CE, a moment of triumph not just for an army but for an idea, the idea that faith, humility, and history could come together to reshape the destiny of a sacred city.
Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe to our channel.